Some PS1 games are still worth your time in 2024, and we're going to highlight some that proves that, unlike us, as we shake our fists at clouds and have terrifying visions of the future every time we stand up too fast, have aged really, really well. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but these PS1 games still look and play for us like it's 1999. If you miss being a Blockbuster member and renting The Matrix on VHS, then you've got the next best thing right here, being a member with us on YouTube for just a single quid or a freedom note. Okay, we don't have Keanu Reeves, but we're still cool.
I'm still cool.
Hello viewers, it's good to see you. I'm Will from Cultured Vultures, and this is 10 PS1 games that aged really, really well. And please, don't forget to like and subscribe. Number 10, Metal Gear Solid. While not the first Metal Gear game in the franchise, Metal Gear Solid proved to be one of the most successful releases on the PS1. It drew rave reviews, sold extremely well, and turned the series into a massively popular franchise. But how does it hold up after a quarter of a century? Better than you might think. While it's true the character models for Metal Gear Solid don't look particularly amazing in a modern light, it hardly matters. MGS still satisfies as a gameplay experience where it counts, including its potent atmosphere, awe, intrigue and deception in a twisty mission on Shadow Moses carried out by the legendary Solid Snake. At least we're pretty sure that's Solid Snake. Metal Gear Solid's story still hits in spectacular fashion, so the graphics and some super damn cheap and annoying sentries are easy to take as they are. Just like our favourite Japanese animes, the classics never really go out of style. Number 9, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is one of the rarest PS1 games that your money can buy, which is to say that's quite a bit of money. It is also one of the wildest and most entertaining PS1 fighters that Capcom ever released, and that's certainly saying something for a developer and publisher that had so many good PS1 games. Based on the long-running popular anime and manga series, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure doesn't require you to know any of these characters or stories to enjoy the game itself. The game does offer a wildly entertaining story mode that's nicely self-contained, and there's a 2-player arcade-style fighting if you and a friend want to pick one of the game's outlandish 18 characters and go at it. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has the same visual flourish and unique storyline that made it a breath of fresh air back in 1999, and definitely holds up beautifully today. Good luck holding up your marriage if you ever drop 300 bones on buying this physically though. Jeesh. Number 8, Tekken 3. Tekken continues to be a popular, successful franchise in the modern era of gaming, but for some it has never been quite as much fun and even pure as it was in 1998 with the PS1 release of Tekken 3. The arcade version of the game, released a year earlier in 1997, was considered one of the best fighting games of the year. The PlayStation 1 port not only kept everything that people enjoyed from this amazing 3D brawler, it also added a variety of secret modes, extra characters and enough depth to keep you busy far longer than most fighting games did at the time, and maybe even most fighting games today. The great thing about Tekken 3 is that it almost completely retains everything about it that made the game such a monumental release for Sony's console. The fighting is addictive, complex and as fast-paced as ever. Pick it up today and you will no doubt have to commit a whole story playthrough with lore and then constantly kicking your mates in the face until they burst into angry tears. Good times. Number 7, Mega Man X4. While it's true that most Mega Man and Mega Man X games are exceptional, enjoyable games in any era, there's something special in particular about Mega Man X4. While the character's run in the PS1 games wasn't perfect, the 4th entry in the spin-off series remains one of the most beautiful 2D platformers ever made, not to mention one of the most feverishly difficult games in the Mega Man canon. Maybe not as soul-crushing as the original game, but pretty darn close. Regardless of whether you play as X or Zero, there's a grandness to the story, graphics and music that make Mega Man X4 feel almost cinematic at times. Especially with some of those absolutely gorgeous anime cutscenes. This was the biggest Mega Man game to date, and some might argue the best. Is it your favourite Mega Man? Number 6, Chrono Cross. Chrono Cross is a weird sequel to Chrono Trigger, if you even want to call it a sequel at all. Taking place in a very different world with very different characters, the game is really more of a sequel to a Chrono Trigger spin-off. Regardless of its connections to one of the best SNES RPGs of all time, Chrono Cross remains one of the most singular and most ambitious RPGs Square ever developed for the PS1. And given the company's resume, that's saying a lot. Okay, maybe not these days, but you know what we mean. A massive cast of endearing characters, likeable leads, and a quirky sense of humour give Chrono Cross a one-of-a-kind tenacity that's eminently appealing. The gameplay, environment and pacing all point to an amazing development team, and the sort of games that Square, or really any huge studio, doesn't seem to make anymore. It's a little funny that a game with such a focus on travelling through time will be such a timeless RPG classic. If you're a big Chrono Trigger fan that just keeps putting off this game, then there is no time like the present. Number 5, Tomba. Some considered the visually sumptuous Tomba to be a little too old-fashioned when it hit the PS1 in 1997, and those people are called fucking idiots. As was the notion that side-scrolling 2D games needed to die so the era of 3D games could live. They wanted us to sacrifice this so things like Bubsy 3D could exist. Dwell on that for a bit. Headed by former Capcom employees, Tomba was a Metroidvania-style game that was clearly labour of love. Tomba deserved its flowers in 1997, well over a year past the release of 3D heavyweights like Super Mario 64. But unfortunately, it didn't do great on the sales side of things. Despite great reviews, the game seemingly didn't appeal to most players in the late 90s. There was enough success for a sequel, but this game about a feral child named Tomba going up against a society of anthropomorphic pigs to get his grandfather's bracelet back ultimately bankrupted developer Whoopee Camp, and that is not a whoopee. What's the opposite of a whoopee? A buoy? Let us know in the comments down below. Number 4, Crash Bandicoot 1 to 3. Between 96 and 98, Naughty Dog gave us one of the greatest video game trilogies of the era. While Crash may have not bested Mario as his early commercials aspired to do, he did help establish PlayStation's identity in a very distinct, entertaining and slightly more edgy way. This guy is wearing jorts. As playable now as they were decades ago, we are cheating a little bit to include all these games in one entry, but eventually they would become known as the Insane Trilogy because they ultimately make up a single playing experience. Each game in this series of challenging, multifaceted platformers is a striking improvement over the last, particularly the leap in between the first and second games. They all still look and sound excellent, and when you play them all at once, the result is something quite special. You can see that these games still have the same punch and charm as they did back in the 90s. And while we're at it, let's chuck in Crash Team Racing. Why not, eh? Number 3, Suikoden 2. Long regarded as one of the greatest PS1 JRPGs of all time, Suikoden 2 is a sterling example of how the best PS1 RPGs don't feel like they've aged much, if at all. Suikoden 2 may not have as much visual power as Final Fantasy, but it was a minor complaint in 1998, and it hardly holds water in the present. Suikoden 2 hits where it counts, namely with story, characters, and how extraordinarily easy it is to get lost in those things. Suikoden 2 has a massive cast of recruitable characters, well over 100, and a sense of grandeur and scope that comes through brilliantly in how the epic tale unfolds. The game, utilizing 3 different modes of combat, was a cool novelty in 1998 and is one of the reasons why you'll not get bored of Suikoden 2 anytime soon. Just maybe look at other ways of playing it unless you're bored of having money, as copies of the game sell for like $250 fairly regularly. Number 2, Silent Hill. Given Konami's stunning range of quality games on the PS1 in the 90s, it's easy to see why some mourn the current state of the publisher, though they are trying to change their image these days, even if they end up botching the current renaissance. At least we have some fantastic classics like the 1999 survival horror classic Silent Hill, to remind us of just how good we had it sometimes back in the heyday of the PS1. Silent Hill was initially compared to Resident Evil, but very quickly established itself as something altogether very different. You generally don't get to blast your way out of danger in this small town hellscape, which begins with you simply searching for your daughter in an extremely creepy unknown place. You have to think, you have to move, you have to pick up the radio from the diner, or have a very, very bad time. Silent Hill is still a masterwork in survival horror, even if some of its absolute roughest edges could sharpen Pyramid Head's comically sized sword knife these days. There's just a feel to the early Silent Hill games that's so completely impossible to replicate that also makes the game feel timeless. Here's hoping Konami's plans to bring Silent Hill back from the dead doesn't end in tears. And number 1, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. See what we mean about Konami in their better days? The company was on a remarkable winning streak in the late 90s, with Castlevania Symphony of the Night standing as their finest and most enduring achievement. Castlevania Symphony of the Night was regarded almost immediately by those who played it as one of the most creative and absorbing experiences that you could have on the PlayStation. It's a game steeped in atmosphere that brought serious RPG elements to its fast-paced, difficult sense of action. You have to survive a plethora of horrors just to get to Dracula himself, and along the way you'll have to collect the weapons and magic you'll need to be triumphant. But finishing the game doesn't mean you've actually finished the game. The way Symphony of the Night can surprise you over and over again is why it's unsurpassed for some as one of the best Castlevania games ever, but also quite possibly the best PS1 game ever as well. Even in 2024, it's a symphony we're just going to keep listening to over and over again. But maybe not at this price. Can we perhaps slim the symphony down a little bit? Some a cappella maybe? A nice little scat with the lads? Ski boom. And that's all we've got time for in this video. Thank you for watching. What PS1 game do you feel has aged the best? Personally, I think Ridge Racer has also aged very, very well. On release, it just had a great sense of speed and looked beautiful. And even going back to it today is still a pretty special experience. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you again very soon.